right, team. Welcome to the Ravit Show. Let us know where you're joining from. Also, we have very special guest today from Datorios, Ronen Korman, co-founder and CEO, and Avi Hadad, co-founder and VP of R&D at Datorios. Today, we will be discussing a lot around the end of ETL, modern data stack, and much more. Can't wait to get the questions coming in. Also, just let me know where you're joining from and let me know if you guys can see us live on LinkedIn, because I know for a fact LinkedIn is facing some issues with the live sessions, but someone can ping in LinkedIn. Just let me know about that. Also, a little about our guest today, about Ronen Korman. He's, like I mentioned, the co-founder and CEO of Datorios, formerly known as the Metrolink.ai, a data transformation framework company. Ronen is a technology leader with 30 years of experience in R&D, leading high-risk, high-budget, multidisciplinary technological projects. He served as the commander of the Israel Defense Force IDF Elite Technological Unit 81 in the rank of colonel, and was head of technology for operations and cyber division, general equivalent at the Israeli Prime Minister's office. He has been awarded the prestigious Israel Defense Prize and takes pride in being seasoned technology geek. That's a little about Ronen, and definitely we would want to learn more about his experiences and the real life stuff that he has done for the Israel technology space. Also about our second guest, Avi Hadad. He is the co-founder and VP of R&D at Datorios, an Israeli data management omni platform. A veteran cybersecurity expert, Avi led R&D teams for the Israeli Prime Minister's office and was head of R&D at GK8, a blockchain cybersecurity firm. So feel free to let your questions coming in. Also, I know for a fact a few folks have joined and they are from LinkedIn. So I know LinkedIn's working very well. Thanks, Jason. Thanks for checking in, and feel free to let us know questions around the end of ETL, modern data stack, and much more. A very cool thing that we're doing today is Datorios has been super kind to do a giveaway of pair of cool socks. So what you need to do is just type in Datorios in the chat here, and what we'll be doing is picking up two winners from the draw, and those who are typing in Datorios will be will be counted in here. So we will actually be picking up two winners from here. All right, let's see if we can get more comments coming in. We have more comments coming in, so we're good there. All right, guys, without letting our guest wait anymore, let's have them up here. Hey, Ronen. Hey, Avi. Welcome to the Ravit Show.
Hello, Ravit.
Hi, Ravit. Thrilled to be here.
It's such a pleasure to have you guys here. And I know for a fact, I was just letting the folks know about your past experiences and the stuff that you've done for the Israel technology space and for the government as well. First of all, hats off to the work that you guys have done since last I guess 3 decades, at least for Ronen. So obviously, and I know for a fact you both have worked in the same team as well. So would love to hear your experiences there. But why not start with your introduction for our audience?
So I'm Ronen. I'm the CEO of the Datorios. As Ravit said, most of my adult life I was in the army and other security forces. Mostly collecting data for the security of Israel and defending the Israeli citizens. And I think we'll talk about it in a minute, but in a point we understood that collecting data is not the problem anymore, and doing something with that data was the problem. And that's the foundation on which Datorios was established later.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Avi. I'm a VP R&D here at Datorios. During my time serving for the Israeli government, I held a few positions. One of them was I was responsible for creating and maintaining a lot of data pipelines, and there I got really frustrated about the way the traditional way of doing it, that was very inefficient in terms of labor and how much time it takes to make changes. That's part of the reason Datorios was founded, and we'll talk a bit more about that later.
I think both Avi and me don't like broken things, and we think that engineering came for helping people do more with less, more efficient, leave the boring stuff to machines and computers, and letting people do complex things and increase their productivity. And I think that the way we've been and build our platform is saving time and talent to do, I think, the sophisticated things.
That's amazing, and I'm sure I can't wait to hear the experiences, how how the transition has been from somewhere where you guys have started off from the field work that you guys have done in the past, in decades of work that you've done, and now obviously you're in the industry, you both have built this company, and I'm kind of curious to learn more about the story. I want to get into the weeds of how did you both come up with this idea and what was the reason behind it. So if you can share that for our audience, it would be a great start.
Yeah, so it all started, as you said, we're collecting data. And if I'm looking 10 or 15 years ago, data was quite stable and the operational or business questions were quite stable. And you can build your monoliths of transforming data and producing value out of it. I think that everything changed in the few years now that data is changing rapidly. You don't own your data anymore. You get and use data sources that somebody else owns, and you are subjected to changes of data that you can't control. And also the business and operational questions are changing rapidly. And this reality showed us that we didn't cope up with adjusting our data pipelines fast enough to get value. In the matter of defense and security, the result was risks of human lives. You had the data, but it didn't flow to the systems that produce intelligence in order to keep people safe. And we tried to cope with it with different things. And actually, we saw in the last 2 years that the same problems are also in the commercial arena. The result is not saving people, but gaining better business values and earning more money. And that is the baseline of establishing Datorios, building something that could adapt better for data changes and question changes in a better manners of time to market and better usage of data engineers, which are an asset that there aren't enough software engineers and data engineers in the world. And you need to be very efficient of using the talent, not wasting it. So the idea is adjusting better to changes in data and business changes and saving a lot of engineering power. That's what it came to. It began with saving lives, but now it's business matter.
That's amazing. I think that makes a lot of sense, obviously, in terms of, when back then you were obviously saving lives was still important, but obviously when you were in that role, you wanted to do the right things in terms of getting the data right. And those are great experiences that you've shared, Ronen. So thanks for that. Also, we have a few folks joining us. We have Scott Taylor. Hey, Scott. Very nice to see you. We have George Fricken here. Hey, George. Nice to see you. Also, George already has a question. And I would love to take that question, but it's around the ELT or the reverse ETL. So definitely taking that after a few questions. And also another question from Mavi Kinvasra around it. So let's get into that. But obviously with Datorios, why did you choose data integration as a part of it? Like, what's the story behind that? Would love to hear that as well.
Yeah, I can give you. We look at the data value as a supply chain problem. So you pass data from one step to another. As I said, there's no shortage in data in the world, and then there's no shortage of applications that derive value out of this data. And the bottleneck today is data integration. We have the slogan that you won't have data science without data. You can have a lot of data scientists. If they don't get good data in good time to market, they will not be able to produce value out of that data. And when you understand that the bottleneck is data integration, we try to build a product that focuses on that problem and making it better and opening that bottleneck for the sake of data prosperity in the large scope. There are a lot of solutions that try to do a lot of things around data. We try to be focused and solve this problem because we think that solving it will have effects on bigger ripples around the data factories and data prosperity.
Okay, so, that makes a lot of sense, Ronen. Thanks for that. Also, we have a question coming in here from Manisha. Let's take this one. Hi, Ronen and Avi. Tell us what's the difference between working for Israeli defense and now having your own company? Very interesting question. Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting. I think it's easy when working for defense, you are doing something bigger for others. And I think that working for your own company it reduces to making good business and money. I think that there are a lot of common things. In both of them, you want to be very successful. But I think that the result of doing something wrong when working with defense is human life. And in a company, we don't want to do that, is losing money. So I think that's the big difference. Yeah, it's a good question.
I think there is another important difference. That's the scope. I mean, here in Datorios, we chose a specific problem that we couldn't do that when we worked for the government. There we had to try and solve the problem using all of the field. In every aspect, there were different problems, and we had to take care of all of them. Here we chose a more narrowed field with less variety of problems. It's still big enough, but it's more concentrated than the field we used to work before.
True. And I know for a fact where obviously I'm sure there are always problems that kind of come in the business as well, but definitely they it's not that big as the problem if there's a problem that comes in the obviously in country and you guys have to work, like even you have to work it in the middle of the night. So I think that kind of also plays a very important role. When you're in the business, you're kind of relaxed, but if you're working for the country, obviously it's a different ball game altogether. So I think,
but we try to earn the good things we learned in service and put them in the company too. When something needs to be done, everybody's working through the night.
Yeah, we try
that's
to
fantastic.
In this same state of mind. And,
no, I think that makes a lot of sense, and amazing insights. Thanks for sharing those. Also, very quickly taking this another question. How did you come up with the name Datorios?
Datorios is actually data in Latin. So that's the reason. It's very hard to find this definition, but it is a data in Latin.
Okay, fantastic.
We caught it in time.
You all were the first one, definitely. Let's take George's question here. In terms of George is asking ELT or reverse ETL?
Oh, that's a great question. We don't think that it really matters. I think that those slogans are confusing and are more commercial than the real thing. I think that the real important thing is the T, transformation. E and the L are more, let's say, technicalities around taking data and putting it in place, but the real value becomes out of transformation, data transformations. And we actually see the solution of being agnostic to if it is ETL, ELT, or reverse ETL. You need to take the data from its source, no matter where it is, transform it into the right business-oriented data, and then load it to the other thing. It doesn't really matter the order of the letters. So that's what we try to do. And one of the things that we do in Datorios is trying to build a transformation framework that does ETL, ELT, reverse ETL, and if tomorrow there's a new slogan, we'll do it too. We focus on transformations.
Yeah, I think the key point here is that these different approaches, they only affect the technical way of implementing the data transfers from the source to the destination. But if you are looking at it as at the concept that that is required, then in all of these concepts, it's the same. You have to take the data, transform it in some way, and put it in the target data store that is required. And it doesn't matter if you transform the data during the pipeline or at the end of it.
I think that one of the problems that there are a lot of ETL products that call themselves ETL, but actually don't do the T. They just do the EL, moving data from one point to another. And I think it hurts a lot of the business value or the value of data, or let other people do the transformation later. So everybody is doing ETL, but not many are doing the T.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And definitely now I can understand why the end of ETL. And definitely I have a lot of questions as well around it. And as you guys said, you obviously focus more on the transformation side, which makes a lot of sense at the same time. And we have another question, which is more around the specifically about YouTube out there. And this is from YouTube. As partners, if you have any difference of opinion, then how do you deal with the same? Interesting.
Actually, after working a lot of time together, we have our differences, but we also got ways of finding compromising or at least trying to close the gaps between us.
Yep.
Usually we succeed on doing that. But if we don't, then Ronen is the CEO. He takes the decisions. I try to keep in line.
I think our differences make us better because I think that conflicts makes the working point more focused and more adjusted. We argue a lot, but I think that we believe in the same thing of making Datorios as successful as possible, and that closes the gaps, and it works great.
I think only good comes from the arguments we have.
I think definitely, if you guys have that brainstorming and if you guys have a difference of opinion, then only it's kind of bringing a lot to the table. And, those ideas kind of can be cultivated and you can take it to another level. But if those, those different opinions don't come up, then it's kind of, just running on the same track for both of you. And then there won't be more innovations coming in. Definitely with difference of opinion, there kind of, obviously there's a lot of innovations that kind of come in. And those are fantastic insights. Thanks for sharing that. Also, we have another question coming in, but for me, I wanted to obviously learn, since we are on this topic, I wanted to learn what are the key problems of like the current ETL. Obviously, you mentioned about the companies not focusing on ENL, not on the T, but ENL, but also like, where do you see like the most problems arriving in the current scenario of the ETL?
Yeah, but first of all, again, we were saying that the T is not getting enough attention,
Right.
and we think that it's very important. I think that the second thing is that most of ETL solutions are written by code. We talked about the lack of data engineers, and we think that code projects are very costly and take a lot of time. And we talk about time to market, they need to be run more fast, the changes of data, changing code is very difficult. And we think that there is a new approach that needs to be put into ETL, is that paying more attention on the design phase and less attention on the implementation phase. And the way we are thinking of doing it is something like, infrastructure as code, is the ability to describe and declare your logic design of the pipeline to ready-made building blocks that you don't need to develop every time again, and save time, put all your efforts in designing good pipelines and declaring them to ready-made building blocks, and saving the time on coding the implementation. So one thing that we need to improve in ETL, doing ETL with less code writing. And the other things is scale. When people have a lot of tasks to do, they tend to do VIP solutions and very quick and dirty solutions, but they don't think and don't have the time to do scale. But data is always scalable. There's always more data.
Nice.
And I think that one of the most demanding things about ETL is being very scalable in the beginning of the project. We are trying to give an auto-scaling layer that let you scale your ETL infrastructure as much as data demands. So I think that the big problems, the lack of transformation, being code-oriented, and the need for very scalable solutions, which can save you resources, time. I think that the big problems around the ETL solutions, and we are trying to solve them.
Wow, fantastic. Thanks for those very detailed information, Ronen. Yeah. And also, we have a few questions coming in from the audience here. Let's take this one, which is more, I would say it is more around the tool specific, and I'm kind of interested to what you would say here, which is which ET and ELT tool is best according to you and why?
I think it depends on what you need to do. We don't think that there is one tool that is fitted to anything. It depends on your data, on your usage, on your latency, if you're using streaming data or just batching. So I don't think there's one good answer of one tool being better than the other. And I think that there's a lot of variety to choose from.
I think it also depends on the skill set of the employees you have. I mean, not all of them are developers, and some of the existing tools require coding. So that's also something you have to consider when choosing the right tool for the job.
I think like in everything, you need to choose your tool according to your needs, but you always need to think ahead. So you can buy or develop a tool that solves your problems today. I think that when choosing your tool, you need to think about your data in the future and buying a tool that is good enough for your users today, but can help you and grow into your needs tomorrow. So there's no one good answer. It depends on your budget, your needs, and your data. And we are trying to focus on our tools on being able to give very high performance with very good throughputs, but with minimal need of engineering in implying those data pipelines. But there are very good solutions in the market, and we are trying to be the best.
That's amazing, and that's very much guaranteeing as well, but because the way you have obviously put it out through there, Ronen, it does make a lot of sense. And thanks for sharing that. A nice question, Asta, that brings a lot of insights as well. Also, there is this interesting question from Raj. Let's take this one as well. How do you guarantee low risk, high reward in the context of implementing the transformation process? Interesting.
Yeah, every new project is an integration project. And we're trying to build our product that the integration into the existing development environment of data engineers would be as easy as possible. So one of the things that we do, we want to be able to integrate into existing CI/CD procedures of data teams to manage our versioning in the Git, that the connectors to existing pipelines, because every organization that we come to have the pipelines. We didn't invented pipelines, so we'll be able to integrate into existing infrastructure with a very as low as possible integration process. And we take a lot of consideration of developing that, because as customers, we didn't buy many solutions because the integration process was so huge that you couldn't enjoy the benefits of the product you bought. We are trying to build a good product that will be integrated very easily into the environment by the means that we did, and we let users grow as you go. You can start small, take your new pipeline, or take a pipeline that you want to move from one environment to another, build the integration, and then grow as you go. The more you need to use our platform. Yeah, but we take a lot of attention of building that integration process as smooth as possible to reduce the risk.
Okay.
I think
yeah,
we
that definitely
also,
makes sense.
during the process of translating the design of the pipeline from the implementation, we were using the ready-made transformers we are creating. These transformers are generic and they are fully tested. So when you're using them, you are lowering the risk of bugs compared to the approach of rewriting the code over and over again. So that way it's also it takes less time and with reduced risks.
Yeah, I think the main problem that you're kind of solving is for your customers is smoothing the data integration, definitely, and making it more user friendly at the same time, where everything's kind of in place. Since you have kind of faced those problems, where the customers would kind of get stuck in what's like the frustrating point. You've just found that very well, and that's like the big win there. So well done on that, Ronen.
I think that another thing that we are trying to do is, as you said, doing it more smoothly, but on the other hand, giving good performance. There are many solutions that give good experience, but when they meet real world data, they don't work. And data is nasty. And so we try to hold this stick from both sides, both giving the design experience more smooth, more time to market, but again, when being operational and working with real world data, giving good performance, because after you design, data gives you benefit and it needs to work.
Right. And definitely performance kind of plays a very important role. The smoothing of integration is one part, but what about the performance? That would be something which would be like the output, where the data teams kind of focus a lot on how much, what's like the time that we've saved, how cost effective it is at the same time. So all that kind of also comes into the play. So thanks for sharing that, Ronen, Avi. It makes a lot of sense. Also, want to take this question in another question on YouTube, because it's kind of something on the lines what we are talking about. and it's basically about the role. But how do you see the data engineering space evolving?
Thanks for that question. I think that data engineers need to go up the stack. And I think in the end stage of modern data stack is in data engineers being data enablers and data owners. And I think that for doing that, they need to reduce the amount of tasks that are time consuming and looking at the bigger picture, better connecting to the business use, better connecting to analysts, and building more. Avi talked about building blocks, building more the building blocks, and less doing the the nitty-gritty of data that takes a lot of time and doesn't let you look at the big picture of your data factory. So yeah, I think that data engineers need to be the captain of the data flagship, and in order to do that, they need to go up the stack.
Okay, very interesting. Thanks for those insights. Yeah, we
usually data engineers, when you're looking at the variety of tools that are being used by data engineers, then after quite some time doing that, the maintenance of all these this infrastructure takes a lot of time. A huge percentage of time from of these data engineers is actually kind of wasted on maintaining this infrastructure, and that's something when I think about the how it's gonna evolve. I think it requires moving into a state that it takes much less time maintaining existing infrastructure and pipelines, and investing a major part of their time building new solutions to new problems.
Those are definitely great points for someone in the data engineering space. If they are watching this, I'm sure they'll be super happy to learn about these things. Obviously, be the data enabler, be the data owner, and also consider doing your work and getting it to a place where it's a business use case, and also not only just that, make it that strong that your data kind of solves the problem for the business. And that's obviously how the space has evolved. So thanks for sharing those insights, Avi and Ronen. Also, what we'll be doing is, I know for a fact you kind of touched a little on the modern data stack. So wanted to learn about, I know for a fact there are like many architectures to modern data stack, but how do you guys see it, and what's your take there?
Yeah, first of all, there are a lot, as you said, there are a lot of definitions about modern data stack. Every company has its own definition of modern data stack. We actually believe it consists of some principles. The first one, as I said, is letting data engineers be data owners. I think it's the first thing about the modern data stack. I think that the other thing is decoupling, as I said before, the design phase and the implementation phase, in order to put a lot of effort around the connection of putting a lot of effort around the what and less about the how. It gives you better time to market and better business alignment. The ability to do data transformations and machine learning embedding into the pipeline with ease, in order to get the best data value you can from data. Being agile, connecting data engineering into modern development procedures, CI/CD, and there are many places that this is not the case. Being event-driven, we think that data freshness is something very, very important. So you need your infrastructure to be as real time as you need for business. Because if data is not fresh, your business logic is not fresh. And batching from 24 hours to 24 hours sometimes it's not enough. And again, the last thing is scale. Being scalable and the ability to do scale with the little cost as possible. So I think that's the principles that we think about modern data stack, and that's the principles that are our vision of building our platform.
I think I have just one addition to that, and I think that's verbosity and visibility. When you have a lot of data pipelines running, it's very important to be able to see what's the status of all these pipelines. I mean, how much data is flowing, what's happening with the data, are there any problems in the different stages of these pipelines? I mean, without that, you're kind of doing it when you are blind.
Very true. I think those were definitely great insights. Thanks for sharing that, Avi, Ronen. We have a few questions. I want to quickly take those as well. But before that, it's time for us to announce our first winner. So for those who've joined us late, we are obviously Datorios has been kind enough to offer 2 swag giveaways, and those are the cool socks. So what we'll be doing, and this is the cool part, Ronen, Avi, that you might see, we already have the entries in. For those who have typed in hashtag Datorios in the chat, we'll be also taking another winner. This is for the first winner that we're doing the raffle, and this is how it is done. So it's like the cool drum roll raffle. Let's see who our first winner is. It's Asta Batra. Congratulations, Asta, for winning Datorios socks. We'll be...
Get our socks.
Wow, those are cool. Very handy. Ronen, thanks for keeping those handy for our guests, for our visitors here. So just taking this question from audience, kind of super interesting. One from Raj. What would be the role of Datorios in the data ops practices in analytics? Are you guys into it?
Okay, so as we've said earlier, our job is to take care of data integrations. I mean, our platform is not responsible for doing the analytics itself, the analytics part. I mean, we take data from its sources, we transfer it as needed, and we put it when it's ready on its destination. So actually, if we are talking about the entire life cycle of analytic processes, then I think our part in this life cycle is making it work more efficiently, bring more data into the right place in the right form, enabling creating a lot of analytic processes that can create value for the company. We don't intend to do the analytics part ourselves. That's out of our scope.
I think that 2 things that led to that is that I think I talked about business changes. I think you can give a very good solution about adjusting the pipelines into different business questions and making analytics more aligned with business question. And again, I talked about data freshness. If you are talking about real-time analytics, if your data pipelines are not real-time or stream data pipelines, you can't get real-time analytics. And both things we are doing. We are bringing great time to market in adjusting the pipelines, and we gave real-time streaming of data for real-time analytics.
Okay, those are fantastic and very interesting explanation there. Thanks for that. Also, that brings me to a very important question, since we were on a topic which is modern data stack, and there are many important components, but there are 2 very important and very hot components right now, which is one is data governance and the second one is data observability. So wanted to hear your thoughts in terms of how do you see data governance and data observability at the moment, and what's like the point where Datorios kind of combine with and plays a very important role in these 2 spaces?
Well, first of all, data governance is crucial for any organization that deals with data. It allows the organization to determine who can access which data and what are the actions that they can do with it. But actually, there is a built-in conflict in this definition, because in one hand, you want your data analysts or data engineers be able to access as much data as possible in order to create the business value. But on the other hand, you have to limit their access in order to be safe if you're talking about security or private data privacy, and also in order to be compliant with regulations. So in order to cope with this challenge, our system, our platform, is doing something that allows you to connect all these requirements into one solution. Actually, we're doing that by defining a few zones of data stores with different privileges that are required in order to access the data in these zones. Let's say you have a data source with sensitive data. You put it in, you define it as part of a privileged zone, so only privileged users may access it as a source point for their pipeline. Then the pipeline sink lies in a different zone where it requires less privileges to access it. And once the data pipeline masks or removes all the sensitive data, then it lies in the less privileged zone, and from there it's accessible by regular users. So it's really very flexible and allows you to define different strategies with this basic concept.
Okay, those are fantastic.
Observability. I think that Avi talked about observability 2 minutes ago. What you don't see, you can't manage, you can't debug, you can't do anything with. And we think that data observability is a field that stands for itself. I'm taking Monte Carlo as a data observability solution. I think that you need to be an expert of doing data observability. Our point of view is just giving the ability to get data observability in the process of building your pipelines. We give the ability to get a step-by-step approach and seeing after each transformation how data was transformed. And it's also very usable for debugging. If you have a problem and data doesn't flow, we get to the ability to see data after each transformer, see where it breaks, and connect the configuration in a way that it flows again. But I think that it's one of the most important fields. And as we are trying to be professionals in data integration, I think that other companies need to be professional about data observability.
Okay. Those are amazing insights. Thanks for sharing those, Ronen and Avi. Definitely makes a lot of sense when we talk about the data governance and the data observability space. Also, we have a very interesting question here. So let's take this one from George. What are the main users of Datorios? Tell us more about them.
Yeah, our main users are data engineers. It's a development framework for data engineers. So that's our client. Our partners are data engineers. But I think that I talked about the detachment of the design layer and the implementation layer. I think that when detaching these two layers, there is a good place for true collaboration between data engineers and analysts. Because in that layer, you think about the business value and the logic of the pipeline, and you don't think code. You think about the business value and the data itself. And I think that, we aim to data engineers, but I think that this approach allows them to cooperate better with data analysts. And when you're looking at the company as a whole, I think it will make the company more productive, because this cooperation is complicated. Engineers think implementation, analysts think business value, and I think that the design layer they were giving is a place that better cooperation can be done.
Okay, yeah, amazing. I think definitely that is amazing question. Thanks for getting that question, George, and thanks for that explanation, Ronen. Just reminding our folks, we are close to announcing the second winner, so you still have a chance to participate. You just need to type in #Datorios and we'll announce the winners. Just wanted to take one last question from our audience, and this one's from YouTube. I wanted to obviously hear your thoughts, and I think I'm kind of interested in this question as well. Like, what has changed over the years when we talk about data warehouse? Tell us more about it, Ronen, Avi.
Yeah, data warehouse is the hot thing in the market today. And I think it's a great technology. And I think I talked about transformations in the beginning of the conversations. I think that there's kind of abuse that is done to data warehousing because of the lack of data transformations. Data warehouse were invented in order to take organized data, to stage them, to connect to analytics platform. And I think that there are more and more use cases today that data warehouse are becoming data lakes, or actually data swamps. When people throw raw data into the data warehouse and then trying to organize that data within the data warehouse, we think that's wrong. In one edge, it costs you money. Transforming the data within the data warehouse costs a lot of money. And I think that there's a need for pre-processing of data before organizing it into the warehouse. And we talked about ETL. I think that putting T in the right place will enable you taking raw data, transforming it, and loading business-oriented data into the data warehouse, and returning data warehouse to the place it was supposed to be. So I think that we started in a point. I think that we are in a place that is not good enough, and I think that solutions like us can solve that problem.
Okay, yeah, amazing. I think
in a lot of cases, it requires an immediate action. I mean, you have some insights that is based on the data you are processing right now, and you don't want or maybe you can't wait for the entire process to end, and you have to take actions right now. It's really hard to do that when the process is first E, then L, and only then you transform once all the data is already in place. It's not always the case, but sometimes when you need to take action somewhere near real-time reaction, then it might be a problem, and transformation along the way may help you solve the problem.
Okay, yeah, those are interesting, definitely detailed and well summed up, Ronen and Avi. Since we are on the topic of data transformation, I know I was going to take that last one, but I just saw a question from Abdulaziz, and he's got a very interesting question. Are you ready for the metaverse? How you will manage data transformation for this future? Do you have any thoughts around this?
Well, actually, in terms of data processing and transformation, it doesn't really make a difference whether it's connected to the metaverse or not. The problem remains the same. You have data in a lot of different sources, different in terms of technology and also in the terms of format, and you have to transform this data into a different technology, different format, so it can be consumed by another system. So I think the major new thing that the metaverse will bring is the scale. I think we can expect that the scale of data transformation would be much higher in the metaverse phase.
Scale, performance, latency, but the concept is the same.
Concept is the same. Okay, thanks for clarifying that. Nice question, Abdulaziz. Also, before we go out and announce the second winners, what's next for Datorios? Can you tell us more about it? What's coming up?
Yeah, we're actually in the phase of getting as much friction as we can from the market. We built our beta version, and now we want to take it and hear the feedback of companies and data engineers.
Nice.
We have our demo edition that next week everybody can download from the website, and we actually want people to use the data and to help us understand the pipeline of features that need to be developed upon how the system it is. So yeah, market friction, getting a lot of feedback, and making the backbone of our engineering better. So it's two phases, making our backbone more strong and more robust, as Avi said, and getting a lot of friction from users. And for that, we are giving a free demo that everybody can use and give us feedback about it.
Okay, this is fantastic. Also, what I'll do is for our audience, I'll share the link as well, and so they can actually go out and book a demo if they feel like. Also, I kind of feel very confident with Datorios because you guys have like obviously a very good approach where you want the feedback from the folks who are in the space and what could be the, that's like the best feedback you kind of get from the data engineers because who are working in this space. So great stuff there. Also, it's time for us to announce the second winners. Exciting time for the folks who have participated. We already have like 13 entries. Our first winner was Asta Batra. Congratulations. It's time for our announce a second winner. Let's do the draw again and see who the winner is. Drum roll. And the second winner is Abdulaziz. Congratulations. It looks like the raffle has chosen you for the metaverse question, I feel. So amazing question there, Abdulaziz. And thanks for joining us. And for those who wish to learn more about Datorios, Steve has actually shared the link as well. So you guys can go book the demo. And also if folks want to reach out to you, Avi, Ronen, where can they reach out to you?
I mean, we're accessible
everywhere.
The social networks, our site.
Yeah, just feel free. We like to talk about data, and we like to hear about data. We think that there are a lot of experts around there, and I think that one of the things that we learned that we don't know everything, and we like to hear and learn from others. The power of the community, that's the community of data engineers.
Wow, amazing. So folks who wish to obviously want to learn more about Datorios or want to have like a feedback or want to join the community, feel free to reach out to Avi, Ronen, or anyone from the Datorios team, and they'll be happy to, obviously get your feedback or even share thoughts or have that brainstorming. But first of all, thank you again, Ronen, Avi, for visiting the Ravit Show. It was such a pleasure talking to you. Learned so much about not only just the end of ETL, but I kind of went over and above talking about modern data stack, data governance, data observability, about the ETL, ELT, all of those things. So thanks again for joining us, and also to our great audience for asking such amazing questions today. And can't wait for a 2.0 session very soon, Ron and Avi, and looking forward to that. Thank you very much once again.
Thanks a lot.
It was a pleasure.
Thanks everyone.